So things were good up until recent years. And so there's been this big trend of, I remember in 2004, there was a cover of Business Week, and it was a 3-word title. And the title was The China Price, The China Price. And the article was all about US manufacturers, mostly in the Midwest and so on, that were getting outbid by Chinese competitors that were, quoting 30% cheaper. So, what had happened was, we're all trying to, increase profits. So we offshored manufacturing to China at lower wages. That was good for corporate profits. It was good for Wall Street. It wasn't so good for Main Street. It wasn't so good for manufacturing. But there was this tide, and it was the way to go. That's worked really well up until now. It's worked well until until it's not going well. And so there's been this symbiotic relationship of offshoring manufacturing, and you've got two very different systems. A lot of corporations in China are SOEs, state-owned enterprises, and even the private ones, the state is quite involved. But certainly the SOEs, they get preferential financing from state-owned banks. They operate very differently. And China, of course, doesn't have an independent judiciary. So, Michael Jordan sued a Chinese manufacturer for patent infringement, and he won. Took a very long time. But that stuff is pretty much unheard of. And I think what happened also was when China joined the WTO and Bill Clinton said, this is great, they're going to liberalize, we're bringing them into the world order, et cetera, et cetera. We stopped doing the most favored nation review every year. They got into the WTO. They wanted to get into the WTO. And, they haven't abided by the rules. And we've kind of put up with that. We've let that go. But we got to the point now where the hollowing out of the US industrial base is a huge problem. And I think what's happening, I think what President Trump is doing is saying, excuse me, enough's enough. Enough's enough. We have to bring some of this stuff back. We have to have critical industries. We have to have a steel industry. We need to, start building ships again.